myself and others were in tears because this means a lot to us. And so you get this guy, and he looks to me and he says, "It's okay. It's all right. Don't worry about it. It's all right. I know you did your best. It's going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to get through this." So I'm in a position where my client is cheering me up. And that shouldn't happen. I should be the attorney cheering him up. But he is a resilient young man. If nothing else, he is resilient. For sure.
Elliot Francis, WAMU 85 News. As you just said, you care quite deeply for your client. Many other people in this room do as well. I'm sure they're concerned about his welfare going forward. To the best of your knowledge, how much support do you think Manning will get in Leavenworth and going forward with some of the so-called gender confusion issues that will reveal in testimony?
I don't know for sure yet. That is something that I'm currently looking at. In addition to becoming the smartest person on pardons, I'm going to become the smartest person on ensuring that a soldier who is in confinement who has gender dysphoria gets appropriate medical treatment. I know that recently there was a story, I think Courthouse News ran it, where a Fort Leavenworth spokesperson said, we don't have certain treatment. That's not what we give. I'm going to change that.
Maybe down in Washington, do you feel that the sentence or any part of it was used to send a message to others, perhaps as a deterrent?
Well, 35 years would be a strong deterrent to doing this. That's why brave people step forward with information at great personal risk. The deterrent here, I think, also started very early on with the aiding and aiding the offense. If you are faced with a death penalty offense or doing something of just giving information to you, a journalist, that's scary. This is not America that I would hope that we live in. And so I think certainly this was designed to send a message. And I'm hoping that what we do as an American public is we redefine what that message is and say this is not what we want the outcome to be. And that would result in the president hopefully pardoning my client.
Mr. Coombs, Matt Slips from the Huffington Post. Do you believe your client received a fair trial?
You know that I will tell you that there are many things about the military justice system I love. But when it comes to a fair trial, what's important is what is the perception of the public? Is it perceived as a fair trial? And in this instance, that answer would have to be no. And that's sad, because you have a trial where the biggest problem for fairness is a rule that I'm also going to be pushing. So it sounds like I'm going to be quite busy. But I'm going to try to change RCM 806, Rule for Court Martial 806, which prevents you, the media, from being in the courtroom with cameras. We have cameras rolling, showing everything that happens in the courtroom. If you could have cameras in the courtroom, do you think for a moment you wouldn't have, I don't know, say Nancy Grace, not present every day, live from Fort Meade, saying what happens? And if you had cameras in the courtroom, a lot of the stuff that happened would not have happened, because the American public would see it and they would say, this isn't fair. So I think from a representation standpoint, we did everything to ensure he got a fair trial. But I don't believe that the public's going to perceive it as such. Actually, one over here.
How did pleading guilty to 10 lesser counts impact the defense?
Well, the goal there, and that also should kind of give you some insight to what was happening. A lot of people criticize that rule, but why would you plead guilty without some sort of benefit of a deal? And you can only have a benefit of a deal if you have a partner on the other side that's willing to deal. And so by pleading guilty to the lesser included offenses, it gave Casey Manning an opportunity to accept responsibility, because he wasn't trying to say he didn't do it. And I was hoping that it would also send a message to the court saying that the government is not a reasonable partner in this negotiation. And oftentimes that comes back to sentencing credit. You get credit for accepting responsibility. You get credit for entering into stipulations of expected testimony that saves the court time. 35 years doesn't seem like he got much credit.
Who's the winner? Who's the loser in this end?
I think the winner in this case is the public, because they got information that they needed to receive in order to see what our country is doing, and to really to spark the discussion that is currently going on right now. The loser is anybody who hopes that you'll have whistleblowers in the future willing to come forward. Because, as I said before, this does send a message, and it's a chilling one. And it's endorsed at the very highest levels. This administration has gone after more whistleblowers than the previous ones combined. So hopefully we change that in the near future.
Can you put this sentence into perspective compared to some others? There's a report out there that this is the longest sentence anyone has ever received for leaking information to the media and some other parentheticals. Can you put it into perspective at all?
I think in time I will be able to, but I will tell you that when I heard the sentence, 35 years, I think to myself, I've represented hundreds of clients. And my clients have ranged the full spectrum of offenses, from people who've committed murder to people who've molested children. And those types of clients receive less time than gives them.
Steve Shaver, Voice of Russia, knowing that you would get 35 years, do you think you would do this all over again?
Yeah, and I guess hindsight's 20/20. I do believe that he is the type of person who could not have lived with himself if he didn't do something. And you see a little bit of that in the Lemo chats, where he said, I could just keep this inside my head. I had to put it out. And he also, I think, was a realist at that point. He realized that there may be a time in which he serves the rest of his life in prison for doing what he's doing. And he was okay with that, as long as people didn't try to mischaracterize him as a traitor, as somebody who didn't care about his country. So,
Mr. Coombs, we're still trying to clarify the eligibility for parole issue. If that's based on the sentence, and you said he's up for parole in 7 years, how can that be off the, a third of the 35 years? Can you just kind of do the math?
sure. Any sentence that is greater than 30 years, the individual will be eligible for parole after 10. You get credit for the time that you've served already. So he served 3 years. So he'll be eligible for parole himself.
And is parole the term the military uses, or do they just cut you loose? We understood that parole isn't really part of their lexicon. Is that true?
It is true. When you get parole from a military prison, you will go into the federal parole system. So they will put together the restrictions from the military side that they want, but then you'll be treated as if you're coming out of a federal prison. You'll fall into that parole system. You'll be a probationary officer, and you'll go from there.
As you know, Private Manning's mother is Welsh, and there's been some back and forth about whether that means he's a British citizen or not. Do you feel like the British government should have done more to support him, and is there anything that they can do going forward?
I don't know about at the time to support, but certainly going forward, they could do more to support a person who does have dual citizenship. Certainly they could come forward and say that the sentence is too harsh. I don't know if they'd do that, given what they've done to Glenn Greenwald's significant other, but it would be nice if they did.
This summer there were two court-martials that relied on an argument about unlawful command influence because of Barack Obama's statements. Do you see Barack Obama's statements regarding Bradley Manning coming up again as appeals or anything further?
I don't know if that would happen, if come up on appeal, but those statements obviously were untimely. They were not good statements to be made during that portion of the case. And I do think those statements had an impact, not so much on the outcome of the case or what happened inside of the case, but it had an impact because at that point, Casey Manning was at Guantanamo, or excuse me, could have been at Guantanamo, it was at Quantico. And when you have the president making those statements, obviously those in power to make decisions believe they have top cover. And so I think it impacted how he was treated there, certainly. And then obviously the government, they went full press with their prosecution, pushing the envelope on what it means to aid the enemy, what it means to exceed authorized access. Every step of the way, they took a very unique and on-the-edge legal position. And they did that without any concern of what will happen on appeal. I think the reason why was, again, to send a message.
Will you pursue an undue command influence during the appeal because of that, of what the president states?
I'm not, well, I'm going to get very smart in a lot of things. I'm not going to do is appeal. And some might say, why not? And the reason why is if you are the appellate counsel, you're looking at what the trial attorney did, and you're second-guessing every decision. And if there's something that they did wrong, you're raising that as ineffective assistance of counsel. I couldn't do that to myself, obviously, and Brad deserves an attorney that will. So if I made a mistake, if I'd done something wrong, if I didn't raise an issue that I should have, Brad shouldn't be punished for that.
So just a quick clarification, what you are going to do is you're going to appeal to the convening authority to reduce his sentence, and you are going to appeal to Barack Obama to pardon him or reduce his sentence. But that is all you were going to do for 7 years. That's all you were able to do for 7 years.
No, there are other things I can do for him. Another small variation, because he has a greater than 30-year sentence. After 3 years at the confined facility, he's eligible for a clemency board.